Oh, for the so
or for however long, I don't know.
yeah. What brought me home was last year before the panorama happened. I had applied. I'm a literally lifelong member of the stage company. Holla. No, that's appropriative. I won't say that. But I'm a lifelong member of the stage company, and I applied to be a director for their upcoming season. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, but it looked like things were going to open back up. And, of course, I had been stuck not seeing Carbondale, not seeing my family who live here because I'm a Carbondale native. Hadn't seen them in like a year and a half. I just got more and more excited about the project. They approved my show, and they were like, we'll do it whenever you can come into town. So we put it in the summer slot so that I could do it. And I said, don't even worry about it. I'll direct it. I'll design my own sets. I'll do everything for it. I just want to create artwork in my hometown with people I know and love, new people to work with, and to, contribute to some of the art here in Carbondale. So,
is one of my comedians in your show this year?
Which one?
Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. For sure.
I love it so much. Episode 26 of the WTF Carbondale podcast for those checking all out. I love being able to do crossover between people because that's the idea of the project is to show.
Yep. Yeah. And we've already started rehearsals, and I gotta say it's such a wonderful time already. Can I plug my show?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a Steve Martin play. If you didn't know, Steve Martin, the comedian, is a playwright as well as a musician. And I think he owns a ranch or has a dog rescue or something like that. He does a lot. Anyway, he's also a playwright. And he wrote a fictional story about Picasso and Einstein and some other characters meeting at a French bar in 1904. And the play is called Picasso at the Lapin Agile. And it is hysterical. It is absurd. It's a completely fictional meeting, but it has these historical characters interacting, sharing theories and ideas, some of which make sense and some of which don't, in this bar around the regular, daily patrons of the bar who are sort of puzzled but delighted ultimately by this interaction, this sort of crossing of stars. And it's a play that I have often characterized as kind of a love letter to the 20th century because it talks about the potential for the future, and it has all these philosophical elements, which suits me just fine because I have a bachelor's in philosophy. So the little philosophy nerd inside of me just loved it when I first saw the play, and I've wanted to do it ever since. So this is a dream come true.
And it's just right here.
It's right here
with the stage company in Carbondale, where home is.
Where home is.
And that is the transition to the intro for episode 69 of the WTF Carbondale podcast, where we talk to interesting people about their interesting lives and tie it all back to this little old place we call home here in Carbondale, Illinois. Episode 69 with MK Hughes. Can I say your full name out loud? Is that so loud?
Absolutely.
Mary Catherine Hughes. As I recall from back in the day, was it Katie that you were? It was
Katie.
Okay, cool. As I'm carefully recalling along the way here, this is just great because I would have never, when you're kids, you don't know what relationships are going to look like as an adult, and you don't even think about it.
You don't. I certainly didn't see this coming. I'm delighted to be where I am now, but I had some ideas about my future, and some of them have come true. I worked for my dreams, but I'm just delighted to be here. This is just a lovely, lovely place to land, and I never would have predicted it, but I'm happy to be here.
We already know, as context on this podcast now that there's no how'd you come to be in Carbondale, born and raised Carbondale. Mm-hmm. So the other big question is what type of influence that Carbondale has provided over you to instill these dreams in you and then push you to go pursue them elsewhere and out there?
So, Carbondale is such a cool town. And of course, I'm saying that as a native. But I have a lot of love for Carbondale because of all the things that it offered me growing up. So it has a university, so it has a very diverse and learned population, and it also has all of the things that the town and the surrounding area tries to provide to draw people in. It has music, and it has theater and art, and it has also just tons of great restaurants and, beautiful vistas. And the surrounding area, of course, is surrounded by farmland, but also vineyards and swimming places, and it's... I want to say this is well, obviously the Shawnee National Forest is the ancestral home of the Shawnee people, and it's a really beautiful area just to go out and see. There's Giant City Park and all this stuff. And it offered me all of that. And it was also, how do I explain this? It offered me all of these different perspectives and beautiful things to do with people I grew up with. And I never wanted for anything, so I was free to imagine anything. I got inspired by the stage company, right? My mom joined a couple years after she had moved here, and she'd had some kids, and she was working in the area, and she joined the stage company, and she started doing shows there. She brought me along. I was immediately entranced. There are literally stories of me growing up backstage in the old stage company building, which was this beautiful old opera house that was once a bank, but was before that an opera house in downtown Carbondale. It's no longer there, unfortunately, but we have this building now, so it's fine. And she brought me with her and just let me, imagine and play dress up with some of the costumes and help out with the shows. I was like a little kid backstage carrying a 2x4, just being helpful, When I was 10, I was running light and sound boards and stuff like that. I got to see shows at McLeod Theater at SIU, which were amazing, and it also later inspired me to go to school for theater at SIU.
Yeah.
So, Carbondale just gave me all those things. There were tons of other things too. There was political activism, which was my dad's bag. He loved to educate me and teach me about the world, and he had friends here too who contributed to that, and just a huge sense of community and engagement. And they gave all that to me, and I've taken that with me wherever I've gone, really. This is one of the best places to grow up, and that is a biased opinion, but it's true.
You get to own that opinion.
I own that opinion. I am a Carbondale girl. I'm not sorry about it.
Oh my God, that's what the T-shirt needs to say. I've been trying to think of what's the phrase that goes on a WTF Carbondale T-shirt. And if I'm going to steal the brand from your sister, I can at least steal the tagline from you. Yeah. Talk
about a Carbondale family, though. Yeah, my sister's active in the community. My parents were active in the community. Half the town knows who we are. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
We've just, participated in so many things around here that it really does feel like home, not just visiting my family, but every spot in this town. I'm sure, not everybody's a huge fan of mine personally or anything like that, but it still feels like a great big family.
I'm a huge fan right now. Okay, come on. I'm fanboying out over here right now. I'm losing my mind.
Well, maybe...
that MK Hughes has blessed the podcast.
Well, I was meaning people who didn't even know who I was, or were oh, whatever.
Well, they're gonna know who you are now.
Oh no! I hope you like me. But
you really like me.
You really like me. Yeah. But it still feels like a big family. And not in a corny way. Just being kind to each other and feeling at home here, feeling like I can participate in things for the betterment of this community and not feel like an outsider.
Yeah.
Even though I've gone a bunch of places, I still come back. I'm going to segue for a second.
Yeah, please.
There is something about Southern Illinois, and this is going to sound kind of crunchy, tree huggery, but I'm not sorry. I was raised by environmental activists.
That's in your bark, my dear. No.
Yeah, it's in my bark. Every time I drive back here from wherever I've been, and I've lived and worked in multiple places across the country, beautiful places. But every time I come home and I hit like, the surrounding area, like I'm near a little grassy or anything, and I'm hitting the highway, and I smell the air, and I hear the bugs in the trees, because I'm usually home in the summers, but in the winters too, like there's a smell in the air that is so familiar. It deeply feels like home. Like I love it every time.
And right now you're living in Pittsburgh.
Yes, I live and work in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
And it doesn't smell anything like it smells here?
No. And I couldn't even tell you like it's a particular smell. It's just like
there's just not a smell in Pittsburgh.
Thankfully not anymore. A lot of the really positive environmental things that have happened there have cleaned up the air quality quite a bit. But it is still an industrial city, but it also has wonderful things too. But it doesn't really smell much like anything until you get near the river, and then it smells like river.
Yeah. Nobody likes the smell of a river.
Well, I should say rivers because it's got 3 that like connect. But it's a great town too. I rep in Pittsburgh because I've lived and worked there since 2016, and I love it. It will never compare to my home, but it is definitely like a place I could live for a while. The ultimate dream would be to be able to live and work around here, but in my line of work, which is professional theater design and live entertainment and even education, you have to sometimes go where the work is.
Yep. Well, and one of the things you were sharing with me as we were talking, before turning the mics on, was just about what the scene looks like in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And just how, when you take what you had to work with here, and then you understand just what being so multifaceted in the world of performance does for you when you get to bright lights in the big city like Pittsburgh, which most people don't understand. What you were explaining to me earlier about the just being on the Broadway track and the endowment money that flows through there.
It has a huge cultural trust, cultural endowment. The people who live and work around there are very invested in their community. And of course, people, like to see their name on the endowment plaque, but there is dedicated work going towards the cultural edification of Pittsburgh. Music, Broadway shows that are traveling through the country, concerts, like major performers that they land in Pittsburgh. And then of course you've got things like grassroots productions, smaller theaters that are contributing to the larger house theaters in Pittsburgh. There are some big names, regional theaters that hire equity actors and have union labor, and they're all working in consort in this cultural community in Pittsburgh. And of course there's other things too. There's a convention center there, so of course we get like the Comic-Cons, and we get conferences and things like that. We also have sports. We've got the Steelers, the Pirates, and the Penguins, who I didn't know when I moved there. I should have done my research, because I stuck out like a sore thumb. I'll tell you that much. If you don't know,
weren't wearing the right colors.
I wear my Saluki gear on the Pitt campus, which are the Pitt Panthers. I wear it downtown. I'm a lone Saluki in a sea of Panthers and Pirates, and I'm just like Saluki strut. But but yeah, it's got a lot going for it, and I've had enough time to work professionally. I graduated with my master's. I can't talk. Graduated with my master's in 2015, and have been working professionally pretty much since I started the program in 2012. Because they want you to go out and work while you're still getting your master's, which is fine. It's just it's a lot.
I believe that.
But it's very striking to go from maybe one regional theater in South Dakota, or the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, or the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, which are some major places that I've worked, and then to go to a city like Pittsburgh, where there are so many options within such a small area.
Yeah.
And I'm learning more about new ones every day, because there's so many people with stories to tell and theater that they want to do, or any kind of live entertainment. And you have to be, what did I say? You have to go with the flow, or else you'll go out of your mind, or something like that.
I'll rewind the tape later.
Yeah. And sometimes that works. Oftentimes my husband, has to remind me to breathe because we both do entertainment work. But I've gotten to do so many different projects and interact with so many different types of theaters and artisans. And I've worked as an educator in the field of live theater as well. So I get to be a props person, be a designer, be a props person and a designer. Sometimes you have to do multiple hats, costumes. And then I work with shops where I'm doing union work and non-union work and equity actors and non-equity actors and, working with a timetable that's totally different than what I was trained in, but I was told to expect it depending on where you are. And Pittsburgh, has it all. And I get a lot of experience and I don't even have to go that far. I just have to go downtown, which takes a while because big city traffic. That's definitely different from Carbondale. I get to the other end of the city and I'm just, of Carbondale, and I'm just like, oh, that was fast.
Yeah. 5 minutes later, here I am.
Yeah. That's a luxury. I love that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I having lived where I've lived essentially in the same little block my entire life is just wonderful to be it's really just boom, it's like coming out of the Batcave and there it is, access to all of the town. And I may not have 8 of one thing to go to, but at least I've got 1 of each that I can get to along the way.
I really appreciate that too about Carbondale. Especially the staple restaurants and the staple venues and stuff like that have been here for a long time, and even the up and coming ones. We have a lot of variety here, and there are, I don't know if I should name names, but there are some restaurants here that are the top. No matter where I've lived, they are still the top.
We can play favorites here. I don't mind.
I have never had any better Thai food than Thai Taste anywhere I've lived.
There you go.
Hands down, and there are a few others, but I won't.
Not fair. Understood.
Yeah, it's not
so
fair.
the work that you're doing now.
Here?
No, in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh.
I'm gonna go full circle on your production over the pandemic and the cameras on carts, but just share a little bit about where you have landed in the basement of a really big named place. Just the name alone,
Yeah. So for anyone interested in visiting Pittsburgh, it's kind of how when you go to St. Louis, you see the arch. If you hit the center of Pittsburgh, you will see the Cathedral of Learning. That is literally what it's called, and it is a massive cathedral which houses offices and classrooms and administrative stuff, event areas. It has some themed rooms on the upper floors that are designed in a certain style from a certain country. There are country rooms. It has a lot. I work in the basement. And the cathedral is a beautiful building. You go in the main entrance and it looks like Hogwarts. It's this beautiful Gothic and Romanesque castle revival kind of look. The basement... it just looks like a basement.
Yeah.
But that's where the theater department has their scene shop and their prop shop and their costume shop, and one of their theaters, which is a small black box, intimate kind of space. And I have the distinct pleasure of being the visiting artist in props and design for the Pitt theater faculty, and I manage the prop shop. It's sometimes hot in there, because it's a basement of a very old building, but I manage the prop shop. I have a dehumidifier. It keeps everything nice and not damp, which is great. It's an old building, which I absolutely love, but there are some tips and tricks when you're in an old building. You gotta work with it.
Yep.
And so my main position there is to educate students on prop construction and prop maintenance, furniture. Building, furniture repair. I do upholstery. I haven't yet, but I've done some little repairs here and there. There's sewing, decoration, sculpture. Oh my gosh. Stage weaponry. The maintenance and care of stage weaponry. prop organization, just knowing how to make an Excel spreadsheet will save your life. Getting to use all the tools in the scene shop as well as the prop shop, painting, faux finishes. For a long time before I got this job at Pitt University, University of Pitt, I worked at Point Park University full-time as a staff scenic artist. So I have a lot of painting experience that I am just eager to share with anybody who will listen. Because I've been a painter most of my life, like small scale, studio painting. And then I got into scenic painting, and it's still one of my favorite things to do. But now I get to diversify and do sculpture and metalworking and all these other things. And it's a lot of fun. I get to teach. I teach design. I work with brilliant faculty who are very supportive, and they're artists like me. And those are my people. And I absolutely adore it. Dehumidifier, though, I draw the line. It's key.
Key.
Yeah.
Have you taken notice, watching from afar on the internet, the painting activity that has started to take hold in Carbondale in the past year or two?
I think I've seen signs of it.
Okay.
And I've heard some of my friends talking about it, but honestly, I don't even know where to start looking. But I kind of want to start looking. Wander around.
We'll get you plugged in.
Yeah.
Korean Marquez and their child masterpiece episode. I don't know, maybe 11 of the podcast. I'm trying to keep my references straight. But so they started this art hall and paint and sip business that has kind of grown to take over most of the island now.
Oh, yes, I have heard of this. Yes.
So Project Human X is where you need to start, but that's just where it begins. And I think that there are folks that are one-off that are kind of operating in tandem or out of Project Human X, and they're supporting other people launching their own thing, who are then going out to the parks and all this other place and doing things. And JP Byler is over here looking to do a paint thing along with the tattoo shop and the hair parlor and all the other stuff that they've got going on. I would hope that we can put together a paint crawl. I've pitched this idea to Jordan at Tourism, just taking time to get things fired back up. But I think that to start at Project Human X on one end of the strip and work your way down to the other end of the strip by the gardens or Tres Hombres or wherever along the way, and then have 4 or 5 stops where you just paint part of your painting and you can just grab a drink and keep going. Right, so a paint walk or a paint crawl, and you can just have a little hand-sized
canvas or board, whatever. Yeah. Oh, I love everything about this. I absolutely do. So
when are you home until? What's your kind of timeline? Do you have a timeline?
Yeah, I'm in Carbondale, unfortunately, only until July 20th. Okay. So I'm here for a few weeks, a good chunk of the summer, but. Then I'm
disperse quickly.
I have to. Yeah, I got some other family to see in other parts of the country, and then right back to work. So, but if that happens at any point, I want to see pictures of it, and I want to be involved in the next one, 100%.
There you go. That's it. I'm on board.
Yeah. So am I.
I think even from afar, you could submit the design. Hey, this is one of your 5 designs by local artists that you can choose from to paint on your way through. Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Great.
No, that's cool. That's really cool. So is painting the first passion of life in the terms of art, or do you have a first passion that you would consider this one's precedes or supersedes all?
Drawing was my first passion. And that I'm speaking chronologically in my life, drawing, but painting followed very soon after. And when I got into my professional career, painting and drawing and doing sculptural work in school, I would take art classes in undergrad and things like that. But when I got into professional theater study, I took to painting like a duck to water. I learned how to do, techniques that I'd been doing for years on a massive scale, and seeing all the amazing tools and the quality paints that I could play with, and all the things that I learned about just art in general, like doing perspective and how to, transfer a small picture to a 20-foot wall.
Yeah.
And color and value and light and shadow, which was never my strong suit until I studied theatrical painting and I learned how to render a shadow properly. Now my characters don't look so flat, and that's great. But yeah, no, it helped me grow immensely as an artist, and it's so much fun. We paint with brooms. We paint with giant Hudson sprayers that you use to like spray your lawn with stuff. We have so much fun and we get so messy, and it's cathartic and it's beautiful and fun. So I would say painting is ultimately my deep love. I think I will always be a painter. But drawing was my first love. It got me in the door.
Yeah.
For sure.
Good introductory bit. Well, now also even more of an idea here, because long term, my want is to see a giant "Welcome to Carbondale" on the front of this building. I was talking to folks about this just last night, and in fact, because and even beyond that, episode 68, the podcast just before this one, Thad Heckman, we had him on because he's part of the Bucky Dome series that I'm doing, but he's also the architect for the multimodal transportation system going in across the street. So it's like, we're going to have a multi-million-dollar facility here that hopefully will have bullet trains running through it 20 years from now, and we're going to be able to see people jump off that train, and what's the first thing that they're going to see, or that they need to see, that should welcome to the Carbondale? And it's a giant sign on the side of this building with a lit up marquee that says, "Welcome to Carbondale." Maybe with some lights integrated into it. And I've got some other ideas, but what I'm throwing out there is, when it's time, you're getting that phone call.
I would be happy to take that phone call. And also, I do know for a fact, if I'm not available to do it, I would love to be involved. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There are some people in this area, right, who have been doing like sign restoration, like on the side of the grocery store at Town Square.
Gail and what is Gail's? The Whites.
Yes.
Right on the side of the building on Washington Street, right? The old Coke sign. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yep. They do beautiful work, and I'm sure there are other wonderful mural artists in the area too. But like that kind of large format art, like I'm down. I'm absolutely down, but I would want to have a group of people around me, like local artists. And stuff.
I think so, and I think even beyond that, right? Even if you're not like physically here, because you understand how to scale a piece into that space, right? If the core of the design started with you, who understands the mechanics of it, and then bled out into
local people who
another dozen artists that can carry the project through.
Oh yeah.
I think that's kind of the right mindset to have about it. Jared Davies really, like, his couple of pieces that he's installed on the strip have been really nice. The Cristados building, and the PK's building. What Korean Marquez have done down at the island, they put they painted the entire side of the island there, and they're actually contracted to be one of the folks providing a deliverable for the Marion mural project.
Yeah, cool.
And I've got my own opinions on the idea of an entire mural project, considering every community in small town America is doing a mural project right now.
Yeah.
But
I mean, mural art, especially in the United States, it has a long history. And it has history all over the world. People have been painting on walls since there have been walls.
Yeah.
But, both the commercial and the personal community-based mural art really has like a huge impact on us, I think as a nation. It speaks to hometown. It speaks to something created by a community. And it's personal and beautiful, and it lasts a little bit longer too, because as long as that wall stands, you will see the paint could fade, but you'll see chips of it. You'll see the ghost of it for years. And that's nice. It's a little bit more permanence, and it speaks about community. So I like that.
Have you actively studied mural art as part of your educational process?
Not actively, sort of tangentially when I'm researching, what a drop should look like, which is a scenery term for like a painted piece of fabric, or a wall that needs to look like it had a Coca-Cola sign on it or something like that. There's a lot of mural art research that you do depending on what show you're working on. So tangentially, and I have books. I have tons of books with, research in there of old murals, but also, of tons of other art like sculpture and stuff like that. So I haven't actively done that, but I've absorbed quite a lot already without, even being that focused on it.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
It just kind of comes with the territory then.
It really does. You absorb quite a bit. You're looking for one thing, you find 5 other things. It just happens.
So you said you went to school for theater here at SIU.
I did.
Okay, so the college experience, and this is, I don't know that I've talked to anybody about this one yet. Being a townie, going to school at SIU, and like walking into college like you've been there your whole life already.
Yeah. It was weird. But it was like, I was just living in a different part of town. I was in a dorm instead of my parents' house a couple blocks away.
You lived the dorm life out. So you had the full...
I had the full experience my first year, yeah. So I did undergrad and grad here. So my first year of undergrad, I did the dorms. I was 18. I wanted to get out of my parents' house. So I did the dorms.
Yeah.
But I've lived in various neighborhoods around Carbondale when I did undergrad and grad when I moved back here to do grad work. What I really liked about being a townie, but, going to school just at SIU, just down the street, was that I got to see the inside of so many buildings I had walked around the outside of.
Yeah.
That campus is cool.
Yeah.
Okay, like Feiner, it gives people fits.
It's not that bad.
It's really not, and it has some beautiful spaces on the inside.
Yeah.
You see the outside, you may see the breezeway. I think the breezeway is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But there are little conference rooms that have glass tops and trees growing on the outside. It's gorgeous.
It's like it's a working atrium.
It is. And someday when I have all the money in the world, I am installing an atrium in whatever house I'm living in. I want the glass rooms, and I want the big chair, like Morticia Addams has, the big I forget the name, but the big wicker chair.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to sit there like I'm a lady. It's my dream. But the law buildings, the engineering building, they are beautifully made buildings, and I loved most all my professors. I don't think there was one I didn't care for, and there's a lot of love and care. I say that a lot, I say Carbondale gives me a lot of love and care. Yeah. I've had some bad memories here. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, let's not.
Let's be real.
I mean, we've lived a life.
Yeah.
Here, it's not 100%.
Yeah, but it's a dedicated faculty, and as a townie, becoming a student, you become the thing that you seek to destroy. What is that?
Classic.
Yeah.
That applies. I will not name names here, but I mean, we would have gone to school with them. They would have been around our age. Their father, with whom I went to church, was essentially like the opposite of what the kids turned out to be, right?
Yep.
Initially, and then turns out the dad ended up being cooler than you would have thought. But when the offspring turns into just. It wasn't even like the traditional sense. It was like the jock kind of concept, and the parentage not being really into the sports and all of the other stuff that went along with that. It was just kind of funny to see how that all played out. But you're absolutely right in that phrasing that your life becomes, or what have you, what you seek to destroy.
Yeah, and I used, when I was in grade school and high school, we could always tell in town when the students were gone. And it was kind of empty, it was kind of dead, lots of things weren't happening anymore, but, the traffic was a little bit lighter, and that was always nice. Going back to talking about traffic.
Right.
But, becoming a student there, and seeing just, the student culture, SIU historically, it rails against, at least it seemed to me, to rail against the idea that the students at SIU like to party and everything like that. It's a college town.
Yeah.
And the students have their own personality in life.
Yeah.
And, there are a lot of fun things to do as a student at SIU. And the university sometimes, sanctions them, sometimes doesn't. But, the town is here for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that Carbondale wouldn't be without the school there and the students' contribution. They make this town, not all of it, but they definitely have a place in this town, and we love them. And I never felt, like I think the weirdest thing was when I would meet people, and I would be like, "Oh no, I'm from here," and they're like, "You went to school in your hometown?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you know that guy in the wheelchair who has the little black dog who's walking around? That's my dad. He used to walk around around the college campus, and people were like, 'That's your dad? I love that little dog.'" That was it. That was the weirdest thing, and that's not even that weird.
What was your dog's name again?
His name was Pablo.
And you just lost him?
Yes, just lost him today, unfortunately. He lived 16 years though. Like he just kept trucking.
Yeah.
That little poodle was determined to outlive us all. And he'd seen every corner of this town.
Yeah.
Dad took him everywhere. For walks. That's how I put it. Yeah.
Oh man, we didn't. When we did your mom's podcast, high 40s. I can't even recall off the top of my head exactly which one. I want to say like 48, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
We didn't talk a whole lot about your dad. We kind of wrapped up the podcast last like 5 or 10 minutes or so was talking about your dad a little bit, and I never personally had met him at that point in time in my life. We had just known each other in high school, but I hadn't yet met your mom and met your sister and become knowing of the whole family.
Yep, the whole Field Hughes family. Yep.
Yeah.
I
mean, what do you feel like your dad's greatest influence has been on you in life that you've carried with you?
On me in my life? He and my mom both. I talk about them constantly because I think they did amazing things for me. Outside the normal family growing pains that happened, E.G. Hughes and Kathy Field did right by me in so many ways. I have some funny stories about, some instances where, the experience was good for me. It wasn't traumatic or anything like that. I just grumbled about it anyway. Both my parents were very politically and socially active throughout my childhood. And I like to think that definitely I carry their revolutionary spirit with me, the courage and the knowledge, because I learned at a very young age how to protest peacefully and how to enact social change through dialogue and engaging voters and being active in community groups. Mm-hmm. Like they were in a lot of community groups, like the Stage Company, and my dad was a part of the Green Party and the Peace Coalition, and I'm probably forgetting some other groups, but I talk about them all the time because both of them, my dad, was funny and self-effacing and very philosophical. He was the reason I studied philosophy. He had some great, he was he's not from Carbondale originally. He and my mom were both transplants. He lived in Oklahoma, so he had kind of Oklahoma sayings, which really would stick with you. And of course I say that, and none are coming to my mind.
It's okay.
But he loved this town too. He and my mom settled here, and they bought a house here and made a community pretty quick. They jumped into the community, and he was always worried about people around town, and not as far as like going too far that he couldn't manage his family life and things like that. Mm-hmm. But he always cared about people and this place, and any place he was really, he could sort of ease on in. He had this easy kind of air on him, and not to say he never had anxieties, but he could, if he was kind and polite and assertive when he needed to be, he could get help, he could get engagement from people, he could charm the pants off of anybody. And I think I picked up some of that I hope I picked up some of that from him. Because he was just wonderful, and I talk about him all the time. Yeah. And my mom, too. She has some great sayings, too. They're Wisconsin flavored because she's from Wisconsin originally.
Wisconsin.
She's lived in Carbondale for over 30 years, but you don't forget that northern Illinois, Wisconsin. She has great stories. So many great stories from Wisconsin. And I've got tons of relatives up there who hate me for rooting for the Bears when I root for the Bears because they're Packers fans. I had to think of the name. Anyway, what was your question?
That was the perfect answer. I always wondered where you and your sister's accents come from.
Oh, God.
And it makes more sense now.
Yep.
Understanding like the tornado, Wisconsin tornado that happened in Carbondale, Illinois. So you've got this like weird arc of Oklahoma through Iowa to
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I think that's my geography. Maybe I'm not in the right pattern, but whatever. The point being, you've got the non-accent that is the place that we live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. You've got the I don't know how to describe Oklahoman accents.
Yeah, I don't either. You just you hear them and you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Wisconsin, of course, you hear it and you know.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Now I feel like part of the sketch comedy series that spins off out of WTF Carbondale has to include one with Kathy, and it's just Wisconsin and or like what did you say? You were like the
Wisconsin flavored stories.
Wisconsin flavored stories.
Yep.
That's it. That's how I rope in the rest of the Midwest on a Carbondale brand, because they look at Southern Illinois and go, well, is that the Midwest? I don't know. Like, I feel like so much of the Midwestern ope that like is like culturizing the internet in recent years has been very like northern Midwest.
Yeah. I didn't consider us part of the Midwest until somebody told me that we were. You know, I thought we were just far enough south that we could consider ourselves part of the South, but we are. We're very Midwestern here.
Yeah.
We can, go a few miles and get to the South pretty quickly. But
it's weird how we're like south of the top line of the South. The South goes like here and then down and around us, cups us, and then keeps going out east.
I know. I can't explain it. Every time I tell people I'm from the southern part of Illinois, they're just like, they don't know how to categorize it, I don't think. And that's pretty typical. But it was funny you mentioned our non-accents because, I was raised here. My sister and I sound very similar. We both have our affectation, like our affects in our speech, but we're very, very similar. The other day I was talking to my nephew, her son, and he said, Yep. He said, you look a lot like my mom, you sound a lot like my mom, but you have an accent. I think I picked up something in Pittsburgh. I must have. I don't know what it is, but I'm a little afraid. The longer I live away, it's like I can feel it slipping away. So I'm going to have to be mindful of that. I'll just keep checking in with my nephew and see what he says in a few years.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting that he's like attuned with that. And like now that I'm thinking about like listening for it, I think you hit the nail on the head in saying that it's just a reduction in accent overall.
Yeah.
Yep. And I could see that happening where like when you're around Pittsburgh, which I'm sure has its own.
It definitely does.
that kind of draws your accent away, but it hasn't actually replaced it with any particular sound. It has just reduced your overall, because you have to communicate more clearly with the Pittsburghians or whatever you call them. I don't know.
There have been a couple of times where some of the southern influence has slipped out, but of course, my husband is from Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh my!
And every time I talk to him and say, I'll say things that probably people from the north or even Pittsburgh will think is kind of southern. It pales in comparison. And he can switch it off and on too, because he's lived in a bunch of different places now too. Yeah. He went to school in North Carolina, and we met in Alabama. So he's been like around the east and the South.
Did you drag him home this go around with you?
He will be here. Yes,
that's right.
He's not here yet, but he will be.
How many times has he been to Carbondale prior?
maybe only a handful of times, like 4 or 5 times. He was here for the solar eclipse, a couple of Christmases, like a summer.
Is this his like at length stay for the first time in Carbondale?
Oh no, I think
No?
so.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
actually, yeah. This will be the longest he'll ever stay in Carbondale. Oh, poor guy. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm
it's a
sure
lovely,
he'll be all
welcoming place. You know, it's just the humidity.
Oh, which I mean, he lives. No, you're the one that lives with the dehumidifier, but nevertheless, I'm sure that he. Well, no, 'cause, I mean, Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, imagine that's kind of swampy.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. It's got a similar kind of a similar summer vibe there. A little bit drier though than here. I don't know why, but every time I come back here, I am swimming in the air. I need a straw just to breathe. Like I have been to places that should have higher humidity and it still feels more present here. And
Yeah.
I can't explain that. I can't. I melt when I go outside here. I'm like, Carbondale. I
And
missed
what's
ya.
even more exciting is with all of climate change making this an even more tropical zone. Like we're gonna be like this little miniature Amazon rainforest climate. It's real exciting.
Hooray!
At least we're not drying out. I'll take that. Like if literally my trade-off is, mosquitoes the size of my palm versus not having any water at all, then I guess I'm just going to have a giant welt on my back every now and
Yeah,
then.
I'll take the soupy air and the mosquitoes. I'll be fine. I grew up in it, literally. Oh, that's another thing we were talking about is allergens.
Oh, yes. That was going to be the opening question of the podcast.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah.
But it's all right. We got to it.
No, we're here. We're here.
I was born in Murfreesboro back when they had an OBGYN unit at the St. Joseph Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
They don't anymore. Most babies are born at Carbondale Memorial.
Yeah.
But I was born in Murphy. I was born here. I was made here. This place continually tries to kill me.
It's like Australia.
Yeah.
Smaller spiders.
Yeah. but still a lot of spiders. I am allergic to pollen and grass and pollution, like car exhaust and stuff like that. And pollen, grass, spores, mold, dust, and particularly my allergies go haywire here with all the different kinds of grasses, the prairie grasses that we get down here, the forest. I was helping my mom clear her yard the other day and a pine tree stabbed me and I had welts on my hand and I'm just like, I'm from here. It's like the immune system of Carbondale is just like, she's back. And then I'm just, taking Benadryl like there's no tomorrow. And I remember in high school, I had to take allergy shots. I'm like, I don't understand. I go tons of other places and, my allergies are there, but manageable. Here, just mainline the Benadryl at this point.
Your mom needs to start like shipping you mason jars full of like dirt and pine needles and
Carbondale debris.
Yeah, just Carbondale debris. That's it. Holy shit, Carbondale debris. This has been just a golden podcast for all of these things that I didn't yet know that I needed in my life, like Wisconsin flavored, like Carbondale debris, whatever the saying was off the top of the podcast. I can't remember.
I can't either.
But cycling back to your dad and that being like an integral part of you. And conversation, right? So you talked about how that's just like part of you and your spirit. And what in our conversation, before we came up here to record, it was like very clear, like your ability to just weave like the core tenets of your ideology and like your activism into conversation to guide people in a one-on-one space to the ideas that you understand that they need to comprehend themselves. Like that is a amazing skill. And it's cool to like have listened to you talk and then like immediately turn around and like you pinpoint that out talking about your dad and arguably Kathy as well having that. Let's not pretend like it was just EG.
EG, and he's also one of the many reasons why I started going by my initials. Like initially it was Initially, it was because I started signing my name MK, and people started calling me that. But it's also like a send up to Dad. But no, Kathy, my dad taught me a lot about philosophy and empathy, and so did she. But she also taught me style.
Yes.
So Dad had some style, but if you needed style, you talk to Kathy. For sure. Yep. Absolutely. But yes, I appreciate you saying that. And it really goes back to, they met all of my emotional needs, e.g., he was enormously kind and humble, but, was educated in what interested him, and he was eager to share it. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel. I'm educated, not enough it feels like, but I'm educated in the things that really matter to me. Yeah. And when you have that passion for it, it's a bit easier to share, and humility. I think just being willing to be a little bit self-deprecating, or, step back from your own ego a little bit, makes it a lot easier to share, to hear and to be heard, for sure.
No, that's a fit. That's a fit. I mean, it's heartwarming stuff, MK. Like, I really, there are all sorts of directions that I look to go with folks in doing these podcasts. There are folks that I'll interview who I've never met before, and I'm just looking to get to know this person, give them a platform, and show them off as another person that exists here in this space. There are some people that I'm like, these are people of note that other people need to hear and see about. Some people are just plugged into the right project. Some people are filler content, like when I got to have all my comedians on for episodes 20 through 25 because I wasn't quite there with all my booking yet. But they're my people nevertheless. But this is just one of those carnal Carbondale conversations, and it is what I live for, because it makes me feel not alone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're from a kick-ass place, and you are not alone. I wear my Saluki stuff. I may get mobbed by Panthers, but you are not alone, and this town rocks.
That's right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, what else are you doing? Is there anything that you're pursuing outside of the play while you're here for the summer? Or are you just kind of enjoying your time and kind of soaking up the allergies as you can?
Yeah, I am kind of just enjoying the time here. So this is my vacation. Technically, and
I go on my vacation to work. That's what you say.
Kind of, yeah. And I'm having so much fun with the play project that I don't really consider it there is work involved, yeah. But I'm very comfortable in it. It's a familiar space, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. But otherwise, I've just been seeing friends.
Good.
I have so many friends who still live here, and trying, if the weather permits, all this rain lately, trying to get out to Giant City or to Little Grassy, or just to drive around. I've been taking lots of drives around here. Good. Because I don't get a lot of driving in the city unless I'm doing long trips to another gig or something like that. Yep. And I really do love driving the back roads around Carbondale. That is cathartic. Not when it's raining. When it's raining, it's intense. But
what do you think of the new roundabout? Have you not taken the new roundabout yet?
I have.
Okay. I was about to.
Yeah, the face is more.
Because you've lived where that intersection was something that you're very familiar with.
I'm told that it was necessary, and it's fine. I do the little loop. I just never would have thought that intersection needed a roundabout.
Yeah.
But I hear it does.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
trust.
There have been deaths. In that space and
the sight lines weren't
years.
Great before.
It was there were definite reasons for installing it, and being a I think Gary says 90% funded by the state, so it's not like we had a bunch of dollars into it.
No, it just sort of took me by surprise. It was a pleasant surprise, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sort of ambivalent about it, to be honest. But
you're it's just there.
It's just there.
Because you're used to actual traffic.
Yeah, yeah. At this
Like
point,
this, we're like, oh my gosh, a roundabout in Carbondale.
Yeah.
It's like, have you ever just driven on a 5-lane highway before?
and you got to get 5 lanes over by
Yeah.
like that next car, or else you're gonna miss your exit. So
I got rear-ended on the Dan Ryan in October. It was wild. It was like going like 55. Like it was crazy.
yep.
Cycling back before I forget about it, because that was one of the other things that I was definitely interested in poking at, because you're in this room where like we've taken the varsity and we've turned it into a television station and done that thing, but you got to do like a very similar thing during the pandemic as well. So like you very much like you see this and you go, holy cow.
Yep.
It's kind of a fit.
It is like we at Pitt we had done mostly virtual productions, and we got to we had the opportunity to turn one of our stage productions into a film set in our black box theater, just basic black walls, and we decorated it. And it was a bunch of student designers and some faculty designers as well. But we were so used to doing theater, and of course the pandemic happened, and we just got in a bunch of cameras, a bunch of sound equipment, and people are wearing mics, and we're doing tracking shots with a camera on a dolly, and here I am, making sure everything looks good on its back, because in theater, you can just put stuff out front, looks fine. Nobody will see the back. Not in film.
And that is one of the things that I have, and this is the perfect podcast to say it on. I've said it a couple other times in talking to other folks, but this is one that Stage Company people will see for sure, because Brandon and the entire crew, like what they have done to actually like understand that they went from malleable like stage play like setting to film setting, and have like responded accordingly, put in the extra layers of paint, done the lighting up right, tucked in things where they needed to go, like staged it accordingly, and then set it up to where they can transition, do an entire set of scenes in this one, completely break it down, completely build a new one, do all the sets, and then just have that production value as part of it. And it's like, it's awesome to see the core tenets of creating media alongside your live performance is being explored and directly engaged with in this space across all of our organizations.
Our capacity to bounce back, to go with the flow, has impressed me a great deal. Particularly here, like seeing all of the videos pop up. I subscribe to the Varsity and the Stage Company, and seeing videos. We're streaming this. We're doing this, and I'm like, my home.
It's here with me.
It's here with me. It's been wonderful. It's been absolutely wonderful. And I wonder, what might come of it in the future, if we keep using some of these practices and letting our students explore all different avenues of media art and theater practice and dance and film. I think it's done a great deal of good for me as an artist to, just be curious, ask questions, be like, how do I do that? How do I do this? What do I need to do this? And just being okay with, getting it wrong a few times and learning it and doing it and maybe bringing something brand new to it. So maybe,
What do you feel like your biggest, learning, the things that you learned through creating live performance media was? Like, what were the things that stuck out for you making that transition from, the typical in-person theater to the produced, kind of a studio, but also kind of live performance, which you're trying to balance the two things? Yeah.
Honestly, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was, there's a massive amount of importance in your backstage and your onstage crew, investing time and resources into them to get them knowledgeable with the new technology, and also the people who just handle scheduling and timing. Yep. It's one thing to rehearse a script and perform it every night and have your stage manager, there, but to get all the timings for go and hold and making sure the camera doesn't obscure anybody watching and all the channels are filled and then the post-production stuff. Like the backstage crew and behind the camera crew put in so much work. And of course people on stage do too. talk a lot with my hands.
That's allowed. This is on video. It picks it all up. You're good.
Of course, the onstage people do too. But like to get it smooth, to get that well-oiled machine, it takes a lot of time and dedication and patience from that backstage crew. And for all my fellow tech people, I don't thank you enough. And I should buy, when the panini is over, I should buy people sandwiches or give them gift cards or something like that, all the tech people I work with, because they stepped it up and they're amazing.
I love all of the pet names for the pandemic. And much like the panini, this podcast is over. Woo-hoo! Episode 69 of the WTF Carbondale podcast. Have a good one, folks, whatever that one may be.